Welcome to our students at Baverstock in the city. Most of you have recently sat a maths test, and I have already given you the answers to section A of the test in the previous maths video. This video will look at section B of the test. Remember, you can pause or rewind the video whenever you want to. Section B, Disability Sports. This section starts at question 3. Tony plays wheelchair basketball. He plays for Nova Allstars. The coach wants to improve the team's performance. The table below shows the points the team scored in the 4 periods of their last game. So period 1 they scored 16, period 2 they scored 14, period 3 they scored 13, and period 4 they scored 6 points. The coach wants a graph or chart to show team performance. Part A of this question, draw a graph or a chart for the coach. I chose to do a bar chart, and this is what a bar chart looks like. Many students find bar charts easy to do, and I think when you're asked to do something in the exam and you have a choice, then you should do what you find easiest to do. I've labelled both the x-axis, the one that goes across here, across the bottom, and I've labelled the y-axis that goes up the side here, goes upwards. The small squares, these tiny little squares here, 2 of those represent 1 point scored. In order to gain full marks when you are asked to draw a chart or a graph, you need to label both axes, as I've done here. The x-axis is the one that goes across, and the y-axis is the one that goes upwards. And the chart or graph needs to be reasonably accurate. If you do this, then you will gain full marks. Part B of this question, write a comment on the team performance in this game. This question is only worth 1 mark, so you need to make sure that you just write enough to get the 1 mark. Do not write too much, you are simply wasting your time in the exam. I've written 4 possible answers here for you. Any of these would gain you the 1 mark, and I'm sure there are others as well. But have a look at these answers that I have given here. First answer, answer 1, the team begins strong but weaken as the match go on. Answer 2, the team seem to have poor fitness levels. Answer 3, the team have no staying power. Answer 4, the team seem to get tired before the end of the match. The team captain has a mean average score of 22 points per game. Tony scored these points in his last 6 games. 23, 25, 16, 14, 20 and 22. Tony thinks his mean average score is more than 22 points per game. Part C of this question, is Tony correct? Show why you think this. You must show a check of your answer. Now if you look at this question, there's 3 parts to it. Is Tony correct? So we're looking for a yes or a no there. Show why you think this is so. Second part of the question. And the third part of the question is you must show a check of your answer. Now, it is important that you read the question carefully and see what they want you to do. You might find that if you don't read it carefully, you miss out on part of the question, and if you do that, you will miss out on part of the marks. The easiest way to work out the mean average is to add up all the scores and then divide that figure by the number of scores. So the first thing we need to do is write these out. 23 plus 25 plus 16 plus 14 plus 20 plus 22. Now you were allowed a calculator in the maths test, so I have used one also, and that totals up to 120. Now we need to divide that 120 by 6, because 6 is the number of scores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We know that's right because these were the points that he scored in his last 6 games. If we divide 120 by 6, we get 20. So the answer, was Tony correct? No, he wasn't. And we've shown why we think this. Now what we need to do is show a check of our answer. The simplest way to check is to multiply 20 by 6. You don't need to look for anything complex or complicated. We've divided 120 by 6 here. So if what we do now is multiply 20 by 6, if we've done it correctly, then we will get 120. And we have done it correctly. 20 times 6 is 120. So we've answered the final part of the question. Show a check of your answer. Question 4. Tony does training for a total of 3 hours a day. He starts his 3 hours of training with a warm-up and then he does basketball exercises. The coach tells him the ratio of warm-up to basketball exercises should be 1 to 2. Tony does his warm-up for 50 minutes. Part A of this question, does Tony warm up for the correct time? Show why you think this. You'll see here there's 2 parts to this question. Does Tony warm up for the correct time? We're looking for a yes or a no answer here. And then we're asked, show why you think this is so. If you only answered yes or no to this part of the question, you'd get no marks at all. You need to show why you think this in order to be able to score any marks for this question. So let's have a look. A ratio of 1 to 2 means that there are 3 parts altogether. 1 plus 2 equals 3 parts. If he warms up for 50 minutes, that's going to be 1 part. His basketball exercises are going to be 2 parts. And to work that out, we would multiply 50 by 2, which would give us 100, which would equal 2 parts. This means that if he warms up for the correct time, he would be training for a total of 50 minutes, his warm-up, plus 100 minutes for his basketball exercises, which would be a total of 150 minutes. We know he trains for a total of 3 hours a day, because we're told so there. We now need to find out how many minutes are in 3 hours. We know that 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So 3 hours is going to be 60 times 3, which equals 180 minutes. So does he warm up for the correct amount of time? No, he doesn't. Because we've worked out how long his total training per day should be with a 50-minute warm-up. We've worked it out that he should only be training per day for 150 minutes when in fact he's training for 3 hours, which is 180 minutes. That's all you have to do for this question. On Saturdays, Tony starts to train at 11:35 a.m. He stops for a break at 1:15 p.m. Part B of this question, how much time does Tony train before he stops for a break? Okay, so let's write down what we know. He starts at 11:35 in the morning, a.m. He stops for a break at 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon, or 13:15 if you prefer it, using the 24-hour clock. There are several ways to do this, and you have to choose the easiest way for you. I will do it like this. 11:35 to 12 o'clock, 12 noon, is 25 minutes. 12 noon to 1300 hours, or 1 o'clock, is 1 hour. And 1300 hours, or 1 o'clock, to 13:15, when he takes his break, is 15 minutes. If we add that up, we will see that he trained for a total of 1 hour, and then we add 25 and 15, and that gives us 40 minutes. Question 5. Delphine is a champion Paralympic runner. She wears blades to run. Delphine uses this rule to work out the height she is allowed to be when she wears her blades. Arm length multiplied by 135 divided by 100, add 60, and that should give her the height she is allowed to be when she wears her blades. Delphine knows her arm length is 88 centimetres. She thinks her height is allowed to be 177 centimetres. Part A of this question, is Delphine correct? Show why you think this. And again, for this part of the question, we are going to be looking for a yes or no answer. In order to score any marks, then we need to show why we have got our yes or no answer. So let's have a look at this question. Arm length we know is 88 centimetres because we're told so. We then need to multiply that by 135. And again, you were allowed to use a calculator in this part of the test, and so I've used one as well, and I know that the answer to that is 11,880. Then we are asked to divide that figure by 100, and the answer to that part of the rule is 118.8. Then we have to add 60. And therefore we get a total of 178.8. And it's centimetres because that's the height here that we get in centimetres. So she thinks that her height is allowed to be 177 centimetres. Is she correct? No, she isn't. We've just worked it out that she is allowed to be 178.8. So our answer will be no. And we have shown why we think this. It's all you have to do for this question. Delphine has to find the height she is allowed to be using two different methods. She uses this table to find the height from the length of her forearm. The length of Delphine's forearm is 28 centimetres, we're told that. So, what height is Delphine allowed to be using the table? Now this question is simply checking whether you know how to use a table, and I'm assuming that you do. So if we have a look here, we know the length of her forearm is 28 centimetres. We come across the table on this white line here, and we find that the height she is allowed to be using this table is 173 centimetres, and that's all they want to know for this question. 1.73 metres or 173 centimetres. This table, you'll notice, has its height in metres. That is all for this video. We have looked at the answers to section B of the maths test that you have completed. There will be one further video coming soon that will show the answers to section C of the maths test. Keep working hard and good luck.